Hello and welcome to Say Yes to You and Why You Don't. I'm Claudia Braun, holistic mindset and lifestyle coach for busy professional women who are really good at saying yes to everybody else, but when it comes to themselves, not as good. So we've been talking about inadvertently this process of change. And as I mentioned to you, first podcast, first step to change is acceptance, awareness. Jump ahead of myself. The first step in the process of change, the three A's, is awareness, right? So we have to be aware of what we're doing for things to change. When we are on automatic pilot and we are go, 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 which perhaps you are in your busy life, you're scheduled, you don't realize that you're not taking time for yourself because you're so busy. Who has time for yourself? You look at your calendar and you think, there's no space in here. I barely have time, as one of my clients said when we started working together, I barely have time to pee. So if you're that person, you're thinking, yeah, I don't have time for myself. So, okay, first step to change is awareness. We have to be aware of what we're doing, of how we're operating, so that things can begin to shift and change. The second step, which we talked about last time, is acceptance. And acceptance isn't a resignation of, oh my God, here I am. That's unacceptable that I'm here. That is not acceptance. So acceptance is, I see myself. I see that I give to others. I see that my calendar is completely full of actions, of activities, of commitments to my children, to my partner, to my business, to my community. I see there's no time for me. I see that. I get it. I accept it. Come to accept that is who I've been. It's not who you are. And that's a distinction that I make with my clients. It's not who you are, it's who you've been. And I kind of sometimes liken awareness to an acceptance to kind of like a baseline. If you've ever done a mammogram, right? You do a baseline to know where you are. It's just, it's just good to know this is where I'm at. But it can always change. And that's the good news. That's why I love doing what I do. So, okay, first step, awareness. Second step, acceptance. Accept it. Accept it. I'm not judging it. I'm not saying there's something wrong with me. I'm not saying I necessarily like it, but I accept it. This is where I'm at. It's where I'm at for now. I get that all the things I've done in my past, all the things I've learned, all the people I've listened to, all the things I've incorporated into my beingness have brought me here. I accept that. It's a mixed thing. I accept that this is where I'm at. So today we want to talk about the third step. Third step to change is action. So many times what I see is that people get the awareness, okay, I get it. Like I'm a pleaser. I do. I do for others. I make everybody else a priority, not myself. I'm going to fix that. And then they fall flat. It doesn't work. Maybe for a couple of days, they'll tell people, no, I don't, I'm not saying I'm not doing that anymore because I made a resolution. I'm not doing that anymore. And then it gets exhausted. Like, God, it's really hard. It's like a tsunami. I just can't push back on this anymore. Because they didn't get to the second step. People want to blow over the second step as if acceptance isn't important, but it's so important. It's creating the foundation for change to happen. We don't get to action until we do awareness, acceptance. Then we can take the right action. So a window into me. I really struggled with my eating for a very long time when I was younger in my In my earlier years, I would say, started really young. I have a history of not doing so great with managing my emotions. I grew up in a place where it really wasn't so welcomed. So I kind of struggled with my emotional well-being, and I found food to be a great comfort. So I picked that up very early. I was about 10 years old, and I struggled with food for at least 16 years. And I wanted to pretend I didn't, right? I didn't really want to admit to myself that's exactly what was going on. I was using food to cover my emotions. So I'd go on all these crazy, and they weren't so crazy actually, but they were a lot of diets. I tried diets, I tried all kinds of different ways, and I'd be okay for a little while. And then I'd go back and I'd be frustrated, irritated, mortified that I had gained all this weight again. And I'd just be like, oh my gosh, here I am again. And I just go back to trying to diet, and that didn't work. But that cycle of here I am again, frustrated, brought me to learn that a different way of approaching weight loss, that unless I came to that place of accepting, this is me. I use food to manage my emotions. This is me. Pretending that a diet is going to work for me is going to always set me up to fail because it just didn't address what was going on. And that's what acceptance does. It helps you get to a place of being able to come up with a solution. Once I accepted I'm somebody who overeats when I have emotions that I'm not comfortable with, I'm somebody who turns to food, I'm somebody who tries to manage my problems by going to food, I'm somebody who hides out in food. Once I accepted that, instead of pretending I wasn't really like that because I didn't want anyone to know, things started to change. So I tell you the story and this piece about me so that you will understand there is so much power in acceptance. Acceptance is the key to your being able to change. It is a three-part process. Like I said, so many times I see people have the awareness, oh, I get it. This is my problem. I'm not going to fix it. It doesn't work. It's why New Year's resolutions fall flat. Yeah, I want to lose 50 pounds, or I want to run a marathon, or I want to 10x my business, or I want to be this different kind of person. You might be for a little while, but unless you really get what has kept you from achieving those things, and you really understand who you are through awareness, acceptance, action will not create the results that you want. And so what I'm offering here is that do this experience as I talked about in the first podcast. If you didn't listen to it, please go back. Listen to what I share about awareness. And then if you didn't listen to the second podcast, listen to what I say about acceptance so that action can really take hold and take root. And that's what I'm here to offer. And this entire experience for me of offering a podcast is that I want this to give you wings to fly. And at any point along the way, if you find yourself stumbling or stuck, reach out because this is my love and this is my passion. I am a coach who supports with tools and strategies that work women to make the changes that they want to be the women they would like to be. So today we're talking about action. So what are the actions that you need to take to get you to where you want to go? So let's look at this. Earlier, I was talking to somebody about this needing to be the example for her children, right? That's the thing. And that's why I love working with moms, because when you at the hub of your family make changes, you show everybody in your circle, your husband or partner or children or mother or neighbors, extended community, you show them, oh, this is okay. I can do this. She's doing it. She's busy. She gets stuff done. She's a pillar. She's somebody that I respect. She takes time for herself. I guess I can too. So know that voice in your head that says, taking time for me is selfish. That is frequently something that I hear from my clients. Isn't it selfish? Somebody once said to me, there's a divine selfishness, right? Nature has a pause. Think about it. When you are breathing, there's an inhale, and then there's a pause before you exhale. It's a process. We inhale, space, exhale. So this piece about giving yourself that ability to pause, take time for you, it's in nature. And you are an aspect of nature. And it goes against nature, truly, to not pause, to go, 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 go. That is a machine. And you're not a machine. You know, as they say, do you want to be a human being or a human doing? And if you're a human being, you need to be. And the only way we be is by pausing and taking space. And it's going to look different for each of you. One of the ways that I take time and pause is I have a love of yoga, and I have done yoga for many years. Yoga came into my life in my 20s, and I was hooked. I fell in love with it. I was under a lot of stress. I had a very long commute. I had long days, and yoga just was that I could relax. I could breathe. I could give myself space. Prior to that time, it didn't exist. I got up super early. I went to the gym, got in the car, did my commute, went to work, came home. It was dark, so tired. Next day, got up and did it all again. I found yoga, and it was like, oh, I could pause. I could take a space. So one thing that I do on a regular basis is that. There are several things that I do in a day that help me to feel a pause. And I too can get caught up in the filling time. Even if I'm not having a super busy day, my mind will say, well, you should be busy. And I have to counteract that. We are programmed to believe it's good to be super busy. Super busy means you're important. Super busy means that you have value, have worth. I grew up in a very work-oriented family. And there's nothing wrong with work. There's nothing wrong with hard work and making a difference. But I grew up in a place where pausing was not really encouraged. People sat down, fell asleep because they were so tired. They didn't intentionally take a break to just relax, unless you went on a vacation. So I had to learn this. And it went against all of my internal programming to do this. And so for a while, I felt wrong. And I had to really work on my mind, which is why I'm so passionate about teaching mindset as an aspect of changing your life. You do not change your life without changing your mind. Think about this. Thought precedes action. I didn't start this podcast until I had the thought to begin the podcast. And then I had to feed that thought. And then I took the action. So your thinking is what needs to change. When you are caught up in old ways, I was talking with a client yesterday, and she was relaying how guilty she felt to say no to her family, particularly her parents. She's not particularly, she's in her late 30s. So she's living a life, she's living her own life, but she has a lot of programming that to say no to something that they want her to do, not okay. She feels guilty. And she's not the first person who I've had this conversation with. Could be somebody in their 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s. Depends. Can be they feel guilty saying no to their children with children. So age doesn't really matter. Stage doesn't really matter, but this person happened to be in her 30s. And so we were talking about this idea about guilt. Guilt is not a true emotion, right? It's a byproduct of fear. She's afraid to say no because of the ripple effect of that. So hard to take action when you're gripped by fear. The guilt, the fear, it's like it wraps around you and it strangles you. The image that I get is that wrapped around your roots. When you have I like to garden, and when you wrap a cord around the roots, you kind of stifle. You're going to stifle that growth, choke it off. Same thing happens with us. When we let guilt or fear run us, run our decisions, it's hard to take right action. And so as you're listening, I want you to consider what stops you from taking action. Maybe you say, well, I actually can't accept where I'm at. That'll stop you from taking action. If you don't accept where you're at, you can't take action. And if you don't have awareness, true awareness of what's really going on, you can't take action. So let this be a window into you of what is going on that is in the way of you and the action that would take you to where you want to go. So I remind you, you change your life by taking small incremental steps. That's how your life changes. Small steps over time change your life. So what's a small action that you could take that would help you move forward to get you where you want to go for this week? It's not your whole life, right? In 12-step circles, they say it's just a day at a time. Truly, it's a very good practice because it is just a day at a time. That's all we have. We don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. We don't really know what's going to happen next week. We can make our plans, but the smaller you keep your steps, the more you keep it in the present, the more manageable it becomes. When you start to look at your life and you feel like, oh my God, there's so many areas that need to change, you'll feel overwhelmed. You will hit procrastination and you will stop. And you'll just say, you know what? Too much work. I'm going to just keep doing what I'm doing. And that is why people frequently don't change. was telling a client yesterday, I said, kudos to you that you are willing to do this work. And I see her getting more and more herself from where we started just a few months ago. More of who she is showing up because she's making small steps that keep her from herself, that keep her more present, grounded, less reactive, not lashing out at people, not being so self-judgmental. All those things start to change as you make small steps. So I really want to encourage you, keep your steps small. They tell you this in dancing too. Like, keep your steps small because then you can stay in your patterns. Everything is a microcosm of what's going on in the macrocosm. So I told you I like to garden, I like to plant things, I like to watch things grow. So I have a couple Christmas cactuses I bought at the farmer's market last year in November. And I really thought they were going to bloom. No, here we are. They still haven't bloomed. 14 months, 15 months. And I thought, they're dead. But then I started to notice they were starting to get little pretty, like little, you know, colorful things, buds, colorful buds. And about a month ago, they started to get bigger. And I thought, oh my gosh, it's going to happen. Because when I bought them, they actually had those little buds, but then they fell off and didn't grow. Okay. So now I can see they're almost ready. They're going to bloom, you know, and every day I look at them like, oh, are they all ready? Are they ready? And they're not ready, but I can see they're getting ready. But we are like that, right? I'm watching this every day, right? Every day I'm watching this. Is it now? Is it now? No, but it's shifting. It's small shifts. And that's how we are. As we take these small incremental steps, don't be like I am, right? With a little microscope. Is it ready? Is it ready? And if you are, notice, like, there are wins. And that's what I see with my Christmas cactus, is there are wins. It's shifting a little bit. It's coming a little fuller. It's going to bloom, I can tell. But we're like that as we put a little bit more energy into us, right? 15 minutes here a day, daily practice, take time to pause. We take time to become aware of our thoughts. We practice self-acceptance. We practice not judging ourselves. We practice awareness, acceptance, action on a daily basis. Things change over time. You know, it's the drop in the bucket. You keep putting a drop in a bucket, eventually you fill the bucket. But if you put in 10 drops, say the bucket's not full, forget about it, you stop. So our progress is incremental. Allow yourself to be in the process. You know, I feel like planting is such a good metaphor. You can put seeds in the ground. And if day 5, you're going, forget about it, these things aren't growing, forget the whole thing. I'm just going to just throw it out and start over again. You didn't give it a chance. It needs water. It needs light. It needs the right environment to grow. So do you. You need the right environment to grow. Your mind. Some circles, they say, your mind is not a safe neighborhood to go into alone. Sometimes when we are beginning this process, your mind is not a safe neighborhood to go into alone because it can be really mean, vicious, and all of the doingness, all of the actions in the world that you keep filling your calendar with will stop you from hearing that voice. And that's why a lot of times people don't like to meditate. They don't like to slow down because they can't stand the voice in their head. But here's the thing. It goes back to this 3-part process. If you don't have the awareness, you can't change it. That voice in your head was put there by you. I mean, clearly all the things that you've absorbed, family, work, religious institutions, educational institutions, all those things have contributed, but it now lives in your mind. And you keep cultivating it by thinking it. It doesn't mean it can't change. But if you don't give yourself permission to have awareness, it won't change. So, friends, today we're in action, and we're really about allowing yourselves to see what we see, release the judgment, see what you see. Acceptance means we release the judgment. Action means we can take small incremental steps. So as you're listening to me, perhaps write it down. What's the small step you're going to take today? Maybe it means you're just going to practice a pause. I like to call them purposeful pauses. I teach my clients how to take purposeful pauses. Take a purposeful pause. See what you notice. Or take one thing on your calendar. Scratch it off. I'm not doing this today. Make one phone call and say, you know what? I'm not going to be able to do this today. I said I would. I'm sorry. It's not going to work out. Or you look at it and say, I'm not saying yes to this again next time. When it comes up, they ask me to participate, whatever that it is, say no. So share in your comment. What's the one thing you're committing to for the next week? So as a reminder, this week is about action. I have thoroughly enjoyed our time together today. I thank you for participating with me. Your listening is participation. Your writing down one thing is participation. You're sharing it in a comment, participation. And I hope that if you're enjoying what you're hearing, you will share this out, because my mission is to help more and more women say yes to themselves and really discover what stops them from saying yes. Because in that discovery, they will be able to say yes. I'm Claudia Braun, holistic mindset, lifestyle coach for busy professional women. And if you haven't downloaded my 3 strategies to own your yes and your no, please do. You can access it at claudia-braun.com/freebie. And if in any way that does not work for you, please comment below and I promise you I will share the link with you. So until next time, thank you so much for being here and listening. I look forward to being with you.